Hey guys, this video is going to be a two-part series on a problem you might be having with saves in Retropie. This is going to be specifically for people who have their ROMs mounted on a USB. You'll usually see this for bigger ROMs, such as ROMs for PSX, where they're around 500 meg up to more than 700 meg. And you do this, excuse me, to save space on the SD card. Now, the problem you're having is if you try to save, either save state or do an in-game save. You save state and it'll say can't access it. Do an in-game save. It'll look like it did something, but it really didn't. And there's going to be a remedy for that. This first part is going to be a temporary fix, and then in part two I'll show you a permanent fix. So first, the reason for this is when you mount a USB drive, and the mounting is just plugging it in, it auto-mounts, which means automatically sets up with the permissions by default, and for in this case the default permissions are root. Now, since everything else is run by Pi, the emulation station, all the emulators and games and all that stuff, you don't have access to it because Pi does not have the permission to write to that directory location. So this is going to be a way to remedy this temporarily. You notice I'm going to show you when you reboot, it's going to go all the way. So then in part two, I'll show you a permanent way. But this will be a quick fix if you just want to, get going and get playing. So first, you need to either go directly to your Retropie or SSH in because it's much easier. So I'm logging in as Pi. You can also log in as root. I'll log in as Pi because I just like doing it more. It's got these pretty colors and whatnot. As you see, I didn't have to do a password because I have keygen where my computer has an ID and Retropie knows what my computer is, so I don't have to do a password. If you do need to do a password, you haven't made this keygen. Both for root and Pi, the default password is Raspberry, no uppercases. So once you're in, you need to see where your USB is auto-mounted. So to do that, you change directory to the media directory because it's going to be under there, and the command for that is cd. Now cd, and you make sure that that forward slash is there because that's very important, otherwise it'll say I don't know what you're looking for. The forward slash says that it's a directory higher up and that it's not a subdirectory of where you are at the moment. If you want to see a directory you are at the moment, it's pwd. Right now we're in media, so it says hey, we're in media. Anyway, so if we ls, which means it lists all the directories and folders, which are the same thing, and files in this, it will tell you everything that you need to see there. So as you see, there's USB, USB 0 all the way through 7. USB and USB 0 will actually show you the same content, so I just stick to USB 0. And you can check to see each one to see where your USB is auto-mounted. I know for a fact that my USB is auto-mounted in USB 0. And to do this, you just do ls and then space, and you can type another subdirectory, and it will tell you what's in there without having to go there or cd into it. So if I do that, it shows me, hey, there's my thumb drive, PSX, that's a folder in my thumb drive, and PSX saves is the save in my thumb drive. So if I was to do ls USB 1, there'd be nothing there. Alright, so we need to give you an idea of permissions, I'm going to do ls dash lah USB 0. So that dash LAH is actually options, and that's actually 3 separate options, but you can string them together like that. And this is going to show you permissions, file size, and some other stuff in there, who's the owner, and stuff like that. So if I do that, you can see, oh, there's a total size, and then for each subfolder in there, you can see what the permissions are. And so if you look for PSX and PSX saves, you can see that the owner is root. Now, you don't want the owner to be root, you want the owner to be Pi. And I'm going to show you how to change that. And then the permissions on that far left here, which is this right here, this is the owner and group that the owner is in. Right here, the permissions, the R stands for read, W for write, and X for execute. And right now, only the owner has all 3 permissions. And so basically we're going to get away with this by just changing the owner to pi. So now that we know that, we are going to unmount this, which means we're going to manually unmount it. It's still there, but then we're going to try to remount it with the correct permissions. So we're going to remount it as a pi user. So I'm going to try a few different ways to unmount it first. And for unmount, the command is umount, but you're going to have to sudo it because you have to do it as the root user. So umount, and sometimes they can be, sorry, not sometimes, but they're always in this another subfolder, which is kind of the ID for the USB, because once we unmount it we could say, hey, unmount media / USB 0, but then there's no way to remount it because you've taken it away from there. But there are two places that the ID can be. So it's SDA1. So if I do that, now you see it actually went through and there was no errors. That means it actually did unmount my USB drive because it was in this location or had this ID, and it's more of a location than ID, but in /dev/SDA1. It could also be in /dev/SDB1, but if I were to do that, you would see that it would say not found. And then actually, so now we're going to remount it, and to remount, it's pretty simple to mount, but again, we're going to do it as the root or as the super user. So you're going to do sudo mount, and then you're going to say, what do you want to mount? I want to mount this dev/SDA1, and where do I want to mount it to? I want to mount it to /media /USB 0. Now here's where you need to put the user ID. So it's going to be -O, and it's GID equals pi, comma, UID equals pi. If I do that, you can see it ran. I got no errors. Now, if I ls USB 0, you can see they're there. If I would have ls USB 0 after I unmount it, I would have shown you that it's gone. You can do that on your own and see that it's gone. Anyway, now I'm going to do ls-lah USB 0, and you're going to see now that right here the owner and group is pi. So this is going to give you the ability to write to these files and folders now. Also, just as a point of clarification, here I'm going to move up here for you guys. If your user ID and group ID also can be written as numbers. So if you do ID/u and then you're going to do pi because that's what you want to do, it's going to say 1000. And if you do ID-g pi, it's going to tell you 1000. So a lot of times you'll see user ID, group ID as 1000:1000 or pi:'pi. So if I were to redo that command from before, you could also do this as 1000 and this as 1000. And it's going to say it's already mounted or busy, so that's why it's erroring there. So that's a temporary fix. Now I'm going to reboot the machine, and I'll let it sit here for a little bit as it's running. So right now what it's going to do is it's going to reboot, and as it reboots, what it's going to do is auto mount again. And as it auto mounts, I'll show you that it goes back to root permission. So like I said, it's just a temporary fix. This is just to maybe get you going and get you playing if you've really been struggling with it for a while and you really want to get to your games. Excuse me. So let's try SSH again. Okay. Now zero. Oops, my bad. Put a little space there. now you're going to see, now they're back to root permission, so it's reverted. But in part 2, I'll show you the permanent way to fix this. Alright, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, follow this channel. I'm going to have more videos coming out soon. Thanks, guys.